Hey, welcome everyone. I'm Steve here with Smoking Cigars. Sitting here with my man. Well, I'm not sitting here with him, but he is here in our broadcast studios. The GOAT, Alex
Close
Tavella.
enough.
I wasn't sure if I was queuing in or not.
Me neither, because I know you're in like weird spot, but I figured you normally queue in, so I let you look like you were ready. I was prepared, if not.
No, it's all right.
To jump in.
We're all good here, and we have a very special guest today. From the heart. I'm not sure. Are they both in Texas? Are they at home?
I'm pretty sure they're both home.
Yeah, I guess broadcasting in from the heart of Texas. We have Dan Thompson and Amanda Micallef of Micallef Cigars, and we're going to talk about it's already hot. I'm going to say it. It's already hot. People are talking about it. It's landed in a few places. We started selling this Monday, but we're here to celebrate and talk about their new Micallef Black cigars.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Howdy, everybody.
Thank you for being here. All right, so look, I want to get right into it, right? So Micallef Black. Obviously, this is what we're here for. And
He's here.
Abe's getting. He's here.
It's me, right?
Yeah, it's you. It's definitely you.
I may go in and out. If I go out, just keep going.
We'll see.
I'm in a home right now with no kitchen, no internet, no Wi-Fi, no nothing. So we're like straight barbaric mode here. So
it's all right. We'll make it work.
There you go.
So Micallef Black, brand new release from you guys, kind of crept in from out of nowhere. I feel like in a short period of time, this has made a big bang. But this is something that you guys have been working on for a long time, from what I understand.
Yeah, to do something in cigars, it only takes 3 or 4 years.
Sounds
to do something big and special, it takes 3 or 4 years.
I agree. To do it right.
Consumers just don't realize.
It's a grind. It's a grind. We're so happy to have our baby alive now.
And we do it on such a smaller level, but consumers just don't realize the time and really brand development from just the blending of the cigar, the making of the cigar, the development of the cigar. And what gets even worse is packaging, right? And packaging issues, especially today. They just have no idea. That's why I kind of laugh when, you see companies or people out there who just kind of make brands every month. It's like, okay, I have no idea, but that's fine. But people just don't realize it's a long process.
I don't know. I'm going to let Amanda answer, but I think we started maybe mid-2000. When did we really wrap our head around this?
I think mid-2020.
Yeah, 2020.
It was like 2000, not quite that long. But yeah, no, it's been a long time coming. I think Abe hit the nail on the head in every way, from kind of getting an idea for a cigar to getting the blend right. And then once you kind of know what you want to do, going back and making sure that you have the tobacco and that you are putting the right, pieces in play to have plenty of tobacco. The last thing you want to do is bring a cigar out and not be able to continue to make it, especially a cigar that you're hoping becomes, a staple in your portfolio. All the way through to what are we going to call it? What's the right packaging for it? How and when and who are going to be our release partners? None of those things happen quickly. And so, it has been a good 2.5 years in the making to get to this point, to be able to bring it out. And what now kind of feels like out of nowhere, that it just sort of emerged.
That's one thing that I would definitely give you guys credit, being that I've been to the Micallef camp. I've seen the grounds. You guys aren't the type that are gonna, we'll release it. We got a little bit, and hopefully we can keep up with demand later. Hopefully it works out. You guys make sure you're prepared and have the product. If it gets hot, you're going to have it for people to sell. And fortunately, this cigar is hot already. So, that obviously always makes it easier for people like us. The last thing we want to do is, get a product and it's hot and then I can't get it,
How often do we see that?
And we see it so often.
So frustrating as a retailer too. It really is. It's, the main problem that happens typically in those situations is that the marketing people aren't really connected to the production people. So they're marketing on a timeline that doesn't coincide with the production of the product. And that's what really happens most of the time there. And, I'm curious because, because this was a project you guys kind of worked with Alex mostly. I've been traveling. I wasn't even in town when we released it on Monday. You released a cigar, which at this point, maybe early to say, but it's looking like to probably be one of the most successful releases that come out of your company. But you launched it like a month before the trade show. And typically the move here by most companies is, they need something to, talk about at the trade show. I'm personally curious because we really haven't had time to talk and even discuss it on a personal level. What was the rationale or the theory behind that?
Well, it's been an incredible journey. The cigars came to us in their final packaging about March, maybe February. So for us to be able to keep a secret that long was the first incredible step. I've been lying to Al Micallef for months now, going, no, it's not here yet. And we literally hid it in the humidors where nobody could find it. So Amanda, why don't you answer what we were able to do with Smoke Inn this year that was kind of a dream for us to be able to do before PCA?
Absolutely. So, a big part of releasing a cigar is kind of thinking about your marketing calendar and who you want your marketing partners to be. And it was a no-brainer when we got it in and we were happy with how it looked and what they were smoking like and everything. We reached out to Smoke Inn and found out that you had an opening in your Cigar of the Month box for June. And so we, collectively decided that while this cigar will be available to everybody at PCA, that we would bring the release forward and be able to put it into the hands of, 2,000 consumers through the Cigar of the Month box, and then simultaneously have an event to make the cigars available early, to Smoke Inn customers, and go ahead and sort of bring the cigar out that way. Through people, and the socialites and the Micallef ambassadors, I think, have kind of a special relationship in a really great way. And so I think it also made a lot of sense to be able to bring sort of those two groups together as part of the release for this cigar. And then, to Abe's point, so, this cigar will be available officially at PCA. Bringing it forward and starting to talk about it early didn't feel like we were stepping on our story, to be honest. PCA is such a crowded time to release a cigar. This made a whole lot more sense to be able to highlight the cigar with great partners like y'all than to just bring it out at PCA against 600 other cigars that are coming out the same week.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Abe's not falling asleep. He was just frozen for a second.
But we don't know what we don't know.
Right.
And for us, we just thought about, wouldn't it be great to get it in consumer hands? And many of your socialites are also brick and mortars around the country. Yep. How could we get it rolled out so that people could try it, build a little buzz around the brand before we went to PCA, so that as people were shopping for the brick and mortars, they'd have the ability to say, hey, this looks like it may be a winning cigar. And we're forever grateful that the socialites, the feedback's been great. We've loved watching the last 3 days, and as it landed in the Cigar of the Month Club, and it was part of our dream, was to be able to get it out to a larger audience, not just through print media or web media, but to get it in people's hands where they could enjoy it.
Sure. And I mean, look, that's a nice marketing plan, is, going into PCA with a cigar that already has consumer demand.
Absolutely.
Obviously.
I was actually just going to say that. I didn't know what was talked about. I was gone. But as a retailer, I think it's actually smart to have done like this little limited release of it prior to the PCA, because what happens with us as retailers, we go to the PCA and everybody's got this new product, but we don't know.
Right.
We don't know. We're buying blind, sometimes on faith, sometimes on reputation of the manufacturer. But at the end of the day, if I had some magic ball that told me which brands, which blends were gonna translate and resonate with the consumer base, I'd be 10 times more successful. It's hit or miss. Some things I thought that were going to be great that just nobody was interested in, and a lot of times it has nothing to do with the cigar itself. Cigar is a quality cigar, but certain things for certain reasons don't resonate, doesn't reach the consumers, and there are things that I thought would never go nowhere, and all of a sudden we're hot. So it's kind of nice. I think it's even a good position for you as a company to have these out and now getting such positive feedback. I think it's going to cause a lot of retailers to come to there knowing that at least, hey, this is something that's being talked about. There's a buzz about it. people are smoking it. They're responding well to it. They're buying already more from their first release, which is always a good sign, right? The first sale is always easy. It's the
Right.
it's the second and third sale that you hope really tells you where the brand is going to go. So I think this was actually a really, really smart strategy for Micallef and for the brand.
Well, Abe, two things. One, the packaging, we're indebted to you and your team. When we sat down with you the first time, you told us, you guys have got to work hard on your packaging. And we took that to heart, and we really spent a lot of time in humidors around the country looking at packaging. And this is an interesting cigar. It's at a great price point, $8 for the Toro, $7 for the Robusto. But by changing our packaging, we could control our cost. And then as manufacturers, what we've been doing the last 3 years, building that scale allows us to do this. But I don't know if every brand can drop down into this price range right now. It's a tough spot to build great cigars. And so we just wanted to grab it. You gave us great advice, and we're very appreciative.
Alex hit the spot the other night. I was watching this podcast, and he literally said that $8 to $10 cigar range has now become, they're talking about how the price increases from everybody has now become like the $10 to $12 range. Everything's going up. So honestly, the packaging was ultra clean. I think that's the best way to describe it. It was clean. It was crisp. Yeah. It's simple. It's I look at it and I instantly know what I'm looking at. I don't have to decipher anything, look at anything, get confused by anything.
Right.
I mean, Micallef Black's about as simple as it gets. And then the product, which I ain't gonna lie, I haven't even had a chance to try. I've been out of town this whole week. I haven't even had a chance to try it myself, but I've been seeing them land with our consumer base, within the socialite group, with the Micallef ambassadors, and everybody seems to be ultra thrilled. And when you combine all those elements, which I was even unaware of until recently, that this is a $7, $8 cigar, I think you guys are going to have a lot of work ahead of you in 2023.
Well, we have built for 2023, and we want to take that face on. It's not easy as a manufacturer because, we buy the tobacco right from the Torrent family. We bring it in, we process it ourselves. Everything happens in-house. And that's what allows us to build cigars at this price point, which is a little different from other brands. But it allows us to plan year over year to be able to provide the supply. And we hope people fall in love with it. We've seen comments where people have said, hey, Micallef hadn't been my jam, but I'm loving this Micallef Black. And that's what we want to be able to do. We want to tune in to what people are really loving. And it's something that Amanda and I both have fallen in love with as we've worked over the last 3 years.
So I want you to take me back, right? It's 2020. Now you guys have an extensive portfolio, right? What makes the decision at that point to say we want to do something brand new? That's which and I mentioned this on How About That Cigar the other night, but I like when this is a, and I've heard you say it yourself, Dan, this is a departure from what you normally do. Most of your line falls within that kind of medium body range, and you said, we want to go dark, we want to go full. How does that come about? How does that conversation start? Or is it somewhere you always knew you wanted to go? Or
so the evolution as a cigar company is we step into an industry we don't know. We made 5 out of 6 mistakes that you can make as a new manufacturer, right? Because we're priming an entire factory and staff. We're not just slapping a band on somebody else's work. We made all those mistakes. So we really looked in 2019 and said, how are we going to build something people are going to love? And we felt like we had great partners in the Gomez Sanchez family because our construction, I'll put up against anybody. We just don't have construction problems. But we didn't have a wide enough flavor profile to do things. And we were under the FDA. We were scared of them as regulators. But we knew that we needed to move and have something in the more full, and we need to have something in a lighter, smoother complex. And so we set out on the journey, and bringing Amanda in with a fresh perspective on the marketing eye, it just unlocked all kinds of possibilities. And today you're seeing the first installment, Micallef Black.
how did the name come about? Because even the name is just kind of a departure from your normal. It's just straight up Micallef, which I like. I like that.
We build our brand around Micallef. One mistake that we potentially made, which we'll own and carry forward, is some of our cigar names are hard to say. Hard to say names don't help people remember, hey, I really enjoyed the Migdalia or the Herencia or the Leyenda. And over time, they learn the stories and why they're named what they want. But they were very traditional names from the Cuban heritage of the Gomez Sanchez family. And Amanda brought a fresh perspective to it. I mean, Amanda, what were we supposed to do, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, look, we really wanted to simplify things. And we really recognized, and I think COVID changed the cigar industry in a lot of ways, in that the cigar industry was forced to go online. You know, people were home. I know the socialites grew a lot out of COVID. Our ambassador group existed, but it really blossomed in COVID. And all of a sudden, all these, conversations were happening online. And it gave us such a great perspective into both what the consumer wanted, but also where the consumer was struggling. And so now we have this, thousands of people whose comments we can read and see when people are struggling with, even to remember what a name is and type it out, spell it right, how to pronounce it. These things, really got kind of highlighted in a really profound way during COVID. And so that really brought to the forefront, how do we simplify this? How do we start creating something? I mean, Micallef is hard on its own, right? And so we're not changing the name of the company, but how do we make the rest easy? And so we really started making changes to our branding to reflect that. We didn't want to change current names of blends, but we've moved into having secondary labels that all at least have a color associated with them, so that, if you don't remember Migdalia or Leyenda, you can start to think about, okay, the Migdalia has the white band, the Leyenda has the band with the leaf on it, that you can start having ways to talk to a tobacconist about what you smoke that can help them identify. And then, the natural progression of having, these colored bands to help people identify is, why don't we just skip over the next step and just really get down to the brass tacks of what we're doing here and just bring out the cigar, wrap it in the color we want people to think about it as, and that can be what the name is of the cigar.
Sure.
It really is a testament to obviously your insight, Amanda, because Alex could probably confirm this. I can't tell you how many times consumers come in, can't remember what cigar they smoked, but there was a defining something on the band that they recalled or whatever, which will usually give it away to us. It had a little thing, and it'll usually give it away to us. Okay, I know what that is, because a lot of times they can't remember. They don't know the name. They'll maybe remember a color of the band, and half the time they're wrong.
I don't know.
Because they'll say, "Oh, it was a blue band. I know it's a blue band," and they'll walk through. Oh, here it is. I'm like, bro, that's red. That's not even a blue. That's not even close to blue. That's not even a hue of blue. But it happens all the time. So that thought process is way more effective than you would imagine in that kind of a situation.
Yeah, naming's a tricky thing. I always think about the story Abe tells. I mean, Abe literally told Rocky Patel, "You're crazy. Nobody's going to buy a cigar named Rocky Patel. You just never know what's going to translate."
I literally said that. I'm going back to when the company was still Indian Tobacco. And Indian is in the Indian motorcycle, not like being from India, Indian, right? So to go from the motorcycle branding company to Rocky Patel, I'm like, okay, yeah, you just shot yourself in the foot. But I also told them no retailer's ever going to buy a cigar in a 100-count coffin. So, two great historic predictions that were epic wrong.
But to his credit, he worked unrelentlessly for years out serving people in brick and mortars, and
nonstop.
All to his credit.
Yeah, Rocky was a road warrior back in the day, but yeah, nonstop. But you never know, and it's nice to see when it's just like cooking a good meal when you see all these ingredients, the blend, the name, the packaging, and ultimately the most important final ingredient is the reaction from the consumer base. And when you're getting that reaction from the consumer base, you guys got to be feeling great right now.
Well, we've moved from there's a moment where you're completely terrified before the baby sees the world for the first time.
Yeah.
For 3.5 years, your humidor is packed with Micallef Black. You're doing something that you're not accustomed to doing. are they going to love it or not? And we're just incredibly grateful for the reception that we've had. And the Cigar of the Month Club people were absolutely amazing. Working with you guys putting it on sale where people could get their second and third taste. It's been incredible.
We go through a little bit of that experience when we do one of our micro blends because it's always a little bit nerve wracking. We like it. We never know how it's going to resonate with the consumers, but even if it doesn't resonate as well as some other ones, we're a limited run, right? We're not building a brand that we want to see around for 10 or 15 years. So, if it misses the mark, it's not like, okay, it's devastation. So, I think whatever we feel and whatever you experience, I guess you put it on 10, and that's probably what it's like going for you guys when you put something like this out there.
Well, it's the nature of being prepared that's so difficult. So as we received final shipment of all the blacks we'll need for this year, we initiated the rolling for next year's blacks. And by the way, we had the palones of tobacco that are also being readied. So you try to think on this 3-year time horizon, and it's terrifying when you make a mistake.
Sure. Yeah, that's the tricky part, man, because you don't know what the reception is going to be. Obviously, you're hoping that it's going to be a smash. You don't know what the reception is going to be. You already got to start planning years ahead.
Yeah.
These things don't just roll themselves overnight.
Your friend like Steve Saka, he's been in the industry for 30 years now. I don't know. But he's got a feel and experience that goes with building his brand. And for us, we haven't had that yet. You can taste them in the lounge at the office and you think, God, I've got a winner. And then you start tasting further and sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
I think
Sorry, Amanda, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the other thing you have to kind of think about is win or lose, you've got to be thinking about what's next as well. And so in addition to already thinking about, okay, do we have enough production for Micallef Black? How are we thinking about fermenting? That by the time we're getting to put this in hands, and of course we're anxiously refreshing Facebook to see what the comments are and all that, another side of us already had to pivot to whether that's a hit or not. We have to know what's coming out next. And we're already, and that's, the next is already in plan, and what's next after that. And it, and it does, it's good and bad. It's a double-edged sword. It keeps you from getting, focusing too much on your wins, which isn't healthy for anybody, but also focusing too much on your on the things that you didn't get right. Because the reality is, on the timeline it takes to release things, you don't get to sit around for long, good or bad. You've always got to be looking ahead to the next thing.
It never changes. That's the way it always is.
Yeah.
It's an incredible industry, and the work that it requires for every brand, every manufacturer to be able to do it, it's absolutely amazing.
So is there something else at the trade show, or is this going to be the big
this is our trade show.
Okay. Well, I suspect you're going to have a very busy trade show this year.
Yes. So what's Al's take on this? Is this in Al's wheelhouse, or is it a little too strong for Al? I think. What does Al smoke? Is it the Riata? That's Al's go-to.
So Al loves the Experienza. That's his favorite, the La Crema. Al's take is he likes the flavors, but he doesn't like to finish the cigar where the strength is. And, I think that's his style. He prefers mediums, right. But he's very excited that we're doing something that's different from what we've done in the past, as we've really tried to work and learn what people love and where we can step next.
Awesome. So I have a little video here that the fine folks at Micallef have provided us. So if you haven't seen the cigar, and this will be your chance to really get a look at it and a look at the process. This is a really well done video they made. You really hit it, Abe. It's just when you said it's just it's clean. It's clean. The box, the band, it matches the dark cigar. I mean, it really all comes together well. And we, Chad Johnson's here. He even came back. Hey, you got any of those Micallef Blacks back? So it's buzzing. It is buzzing.
I'm surprised he's not sitting behind you.
Nah, I think they're out there getting ready to watch.
Yeah, he texted me. He texted me. He told me he was going to be in town this week. I told him I'll be back tomorrow. Oh man. Well, listen. It's look. There's being in the industry as long as I have. There's always people like you really root for, and I've said it multiple times. And I love the company, the family. Alex and I had the honor of coming out and spending time with you guys at your headquarters, at your restaurant. You always want to see success come to people like that you work with, and I am thrilled with the success that I've seen so far and the feedback and the responses from everybody. I'm a Micallef Black, so once again, congratulations to you guys, and I can't wait to go in tomorrow. It's gonna be the first cigar I grab tomorrow. I'll post it. It's gonna be the first cigar I grab when I go in tomorrow.
I just had my first one yesterday because even when I came back, everything I was telling Dan earlier, everything tasted like shit from being sick. So I'm like, I'm not going to smoke this until I know I can actually taste it.
Yeah,
we didn't have any idea how you guys really felt until Moxie broke the ice. And Moxie posted a picture today where she has her Micallef Black nails done to go with Micallef Black cigars. So we love and appreciate her for shouting out to us.
Yeah, Alex was out sick the whole week I was gone. So it's like we both weren't around. So I'm pretty sure tomorrow's going to be a thrilling, exciting day for me back. I'm sure you both know how that goes.
Yes, very well.
So
Amanda, a little inside baseball. How any progress on the restaurant? I'm just curious
We
as
are,
we plan our next Texas trip.
Yes, so nothing is signed yet, but we are circling. So we're getting close to hopefully getting something signed and making an announcement for a location that we're excited about. I think it would be a very, very good fit for Riata Fort Worth, without question.
now this is moving the restaurant.
Yes. We have to move the restaurant by the end of June next year. So we have 12 months.
God, that's so scary.
We've been looking for 14 months for the right spot. But anybody familiar with Riata, we're a 20,000 square foot restaurant. So
that's what I was. Yeah. It's hard to. You can't really regret. That place is massive. It's massive. Right. It's it's beautiful. It's downstairs. It's upstairs. It's upstairs. It's outside.
Exactly.
I mean, it's not like a small storefront that you just move in a little restaurant.
Right. And so it's been a big search trying to find the right thing. But we are cautiously optimistic that we're in striking distance. So
we've been there. I'm not envious of your position. I wish you all the luck. It's just the worst.
It'll be good. This is not the first. I think we told you guys this isn't the first Fort Worth Riata. It was originally in a different building that got taken out by a tornado.
Right.
So
it was like all upstairs or something,
yes,
right?
Yes. So the luxury, when you're forced to move, you realize that you can, that Riata is it's about the community, it's about the people. Fort Worth really, in many ways, thinks of it as their restaurant. We're just custodians of the restaurant for Fort Worth. So so we know it will work somewhere else, right?
Right. You don't have to find a location that fits. You'll be the destination.
Yes, exactly. And we're lucky that we have a group of people who will come to where, and we know that they are loyal and they will follow us. And that's a really humbling thing to realize and know, but it also there's a lot of responsibility to that. So we want to make sure we find the right place for people to celebrate their birthdays and their anniversaries and their weddings and things like that.
I had my first, I forget, what do you call them, Dan?
Calf fries.
Calf fries.
Yes.
Oysters.
Yeah.
I had my first calf fries there. I remember. Yeah.
Yes.
Were they also your last? Have you had more calf fries since then?
No.
Okay. So
I wouldn't even know where to find them.
True. I really wouldn't know where to find them.
Yeah.
Hey, honey, when you go out today, grab some calf fries.
Yeah. No, listen, in Florida, our weird shit is frog legs and gator bites. It's
yeah, that's pretty much it.
Set of weird shit.
That is what it is.
So
Wow.
we haven't mentioned it yet, but can one of you guys break down the blend on this cigar for us?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to. So we have a pretty deep relationship with the Torrent family in San Andreas. The Gomez Sanchez family actually lived in the valley with them before they moved to Nicaragua. And so the Micallef Black is a San Andreas wrapper. The binder is an Ecuadorian Habano, and the fillers are from Nicaragua. And you guys may not know it, but we've started farming in Nicaragua also. So we continue to just keep putting deeper and deeper roots into the cigar industry.
You know, it's funny. I've been in this industry so long, and it's, I mean, it really is. It tells you how old you are. But it's funny when I talk to some of our patrons and people come in, like the name Torrent doesn't even resonate with them. You know, it's mind-boggling because this is a legendary family. Mexican San Andreas is probably some of the best wrapper grown anywhere in the world. They've long been known for growing the wrappers. They provide a lot of wrappers to a lot of companies. During the boom, you know, they had that Te Amo line, which I think was like the #1 selling cigar at one point. Everywhere, you know, Te Amo was so well known, and they just haven't been able to brand themselves, which we saw with the Plasencia family for the longest time. Plasencia family, another, you know, great tobacco family, making cigars for multiple people, big hits, and were just never able to launch themselves until recently, the last 5-6 years or so, you know, with their own line. But you know, I want people to know that when you say the Torrent family, it's not like some.
It's not a random.
You know,
it's one of the largest operations out there.
Literally,
the other thing a lot of people don't understand. So, I don't know. Let's say 60% of our tobacco comes from the San Andreas Valley, but it's not all Habano. That's where we also get our Sumatra tobacco. They grow different varietals, and coming out of that valley, it's just amazing.
Well, hey, wasn't Mexico, I don't know if it still is, wasn't Mexico one of those weird places where like to make a cigar in Mexico, it had to be all Mexican tobacco?
Yeah, I think for a period there, if my memory serves me correct, I think what was part of their hard time of making those cigars, you weren't allowed to import other people's tobaccos. And while Mexican's known for extremely phenomenal wrapper leaf, it really lacked, I think, the area to cultivate some of the other major components needed to really kind of blend a cigar with you know, some ability to have some flexibility in which way you want to go. But I think that law changed in the last 10 years, 8 years maybe.
Yeah, so it's been a change, and you see Casa 1910, who's produced some cigars out of Mexico. Their import-export was complicated, and you know, there's a Mexican Puro cigar hasn't really been a hit, but it's when you bring in the fillers from Dominican and Nicaragua that you really complement all the flavors to be able to hit a home run.
I think that was a big hurdle for the Trent family for a long time.
Sure. Yeah. Sure.
I think it definitely was. And yeah, so it's funny because you know, you say it, I say it, and I just want to make sure that everybody out there listens, man. This is like legendary family in this industry. Legendary family. Really major operation. So yeah.
And they've been just incredible to work with. You know, we went from buying X amount to 20X in 2019 to have the willingness and confidence to plant those fields for us and commit to us. I mean, we're very grateful for the partners we have there. They are absolutely amazing.
Good family. I mean, always heard great things about them. Good stuff.
So I guess it's safe to say that you'll have plenty of wrapper for the following years coming up. I'm sure you guys planned that well ahead.
Well, we hope so. You never know what to win. So it's the hard side of the cigar industry that nobody talks about. It is really tough.
Well, I got to tell you, in my experience, there's one thing you could definitely say that you guys have always excelled in is the planning part of stuff. You don't leave a stone unturned. And, you know, that's a lot from your prior backgrounds. But, you know, I mean, you may have made some decisions that weren't the best along the way, but they weren't from lack of planning. I've seen your guys' thought process. Planning is not a weakness of the Micallef organization.
Well, what's exciting for us for consumers right now is we've got $4 cigars at the Tosadors range. We've got the Black at the $8 spot. And then we have our other blends that have been with us, the Medallion, the Leyenda, and the Herencia. So we really now are beginning to pull out that portfolio where we've got the $4, the $8, and the $12. And we're excited to be able to bring those choices to people for everyday smokers or people who want to celebrate.
I respect that spectrum because, there's different philosophies on how people like to do business. See, I have that grocery store mentality, right? I grew up in a grocery store. We needed to have the generic paper towels and the ultra expensive paper towels. And because the goal in the grocery store is to provide as much options for as many people so that you have it for the people. And there are companies that operate that way and there are companies that don't. There are companies that want to be in a specific niche and don't really get out of that because that's just what they want to be known for. There are retailers who do that too. Sure. There are retailers who say, I only want to sell these kind of cigars, but I believe in what you guys are doing. Look, you offer the variety. The consumer makes the ultimate decision, right? The spectrum. I like to have as much of the spectrum as possible. I mean, we're limited on space, but we always like to have as much of the spectrum as possible. And the consumers will dictate what moves, what we keep, what goes, what we bring in. And, it just under the philosophy of serving the people. So I come from that same school of thought. I like that. I like the fact that you have that. And now even with your, not just price ranges, but now even your blend, right? And your blend style, even that spectrum is widening. I think it's going to have a great positive effect for you guys.
We can widen our blend spectrum because we don't feel like the FDA is going to stop us. There was a time where we're a very conservative company. We want to be able to work with our regulators in the proper way. And that meant we had to have predicates for everything that we did. And so now the door's a little wider and we can begin to explore some different tobaccos. And on the manufacturing side, you need to have an $8, $4, $12 cigars as you manage your tobacco efficiency.
It's really funny because as a retailer, we saw that like for 2 years, 3 years, we didn't come out with a microblend because manufacturers weren't going to talk to us about making microblends. We weren't sure we could even make a microblend during this because everybody just stopped. And the only thing, and it's really funny, is guys, I don't even know if consumers realized it, but the only really new stuff that was hitting the shelves was stuff that manufacturers were just making. So they had marks that they were going to go with, equivalency and getting them out there. I think some of these bigger companies released hundreds of new marks that were just hitting retailers in small batches just to get them out there in the market. And no one was really like focusing on, hey, let's make a new brand. It was just, how many labels can we get out during that period? And it was kind of crazy for a while there.
Well, and that's when we entered the cigar industry. So we had to have a big, wide portfolio to make sure we had the proper predicates and marks.
Right.
We just didn't know what the future was going to bring. And, as a company, we've worked with retailers and consumers, and we've taken blends off the market. And, sometimes people lost their favorite thing. You can rest assured we're going to build replacements, but we're reshaping our portfolio based on the regulatory environment we have today.
I gotta say, and this is really a point that people should understand. This isn't $8 Toro that isn't an $8 Toro. Like, I think I can name. I don't think I can fill 5 fingers of quality $8 Toros that are out there. Just the way prices have gone. So to be able to put out this type of cigar at that type of price range is it's impressive. It really is. This is an $8 cigar that doesn't smoke like the mindset now of $8 cigars are, because that, like I said before, and they mentioned it, that 8 to 10 range has pretty much shrunk to almost nothing.
Alex, what's been amazing is you guys have the boxes for sales and you have 5 packs for sale. And it's really interesting from our perspective. 25 count box that's packaged the way it is designed to be shelf friendly for retailers. That's the thinking. That is not the optimal number of cigars for online sales because it drives the price up too high for a box. And we recognize that. But the one reason that we went ahead and went with 25 cigars is that allowed us to hit the $8 a cigar mark, because these boxes are fucking outrageously expensive now. And so we'll continue working on other form factors to make it easier for socialites to buy. But our hats off, and we're incredibly grateful that you guys do the 5-packs also, so that we can maintain the price point which we landed these cigars.
You know, they're also available as singles, Dan. A lot of people forget that about our site. It's not real, but everything that we offer in 5-packs is available in singles, and you just have to make it in part of a 5-pack. So, you know, guys can build their own 5-packs or 10 or 15 or 20, but if they wanted to try something, they could actually even get them in singles if they wanted to not commit to 5 cigars. And you know, that's one of the things that we've always kind of looked at, especially when we've done like new releases and whatnot, is it's hard for people to commit to a box when they don't, unless you're a real hardcore fan of a company or a cigar manufacturer. It's hard to commit to a box of something you haven't tried. It's like saying, hey, I want to buy these steaks, but I've never had one, but let me buy a couple cases of them for the house, you know, or whatever it is. So, you know, we've always liked the model that we have made them available in 5-packs. And when we started our own make your own sampler program, people could buy them in loose sticks if you put them in a 5-pack assortment of whatever you want. So,
well, that's when we feel working with you guys, it's so special. You make it easy for us. People understand the reason now that we're in a 25 count box, which is a big stretch, but it's about being able to deliver at $8. If you put those in 10 count boxes, those become $8.50 a stick. I mean, it's just math. So you guys are doing some hard work on your end in your warehouse. Got that crew that's able to repack them in 5-packs, whether they get all 5 or mix them up. And we're just grateful that you can do that so that we can get the pricing right and you can get the socialites what they love.
Listen, when I got in this business, everything was a 25 count box. That was the stand. We used to never have to look at a box to figure out what the count was. You know what I mean? It was just standard. And when I got in, everything was like basically 25s. Then they started making the 24s and then the 20s. And then, you know, Drew Estate threw it all off and they had 27s and 24s. And yeah, but yeah, when I got into the industry, basically 95%, I think, of everything out there was in a 25 count box. It's funny. I wonder historically, I'm curious now, I might Google it, where that standard, probably that was a wheel. That was probably a wheel, how they stored them. Maybe, I don't know. Wheels are 50. So I don't know. I'm curious. Yeah, wheels are 50.
And I remember the 24 count boxes, but you certainly had more experience. But as I entered the market, it was all 24 count boxes. I never understood why it was 24.
Well, you know why? Because what happened was the traditional 25 count box came 1312.
Right.
So the bottom row had to have a wooden peg,
right?
A wooden block, and then the wooden blocks were just a waste of money. So, like, why are we making these 25 count boxes and then just went to 24? You know, that's what happened. And then they went to 20s, and then box counts just now 18. I've seen it all. I've 13. Who makes a 13 count box? But they're out there.
I didn't realize. I forget where I learned this, but like Ashton 898 cigar.
898.
8, 9, and 8.
Yeah,
25.
yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's where that. Yeah.
That's where that size came from. 898. It was packed 8, 9, and 8. 25 sticks.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. 13, 12, and 13, 12 boxes wreak havoc when you're trying to do inventory or count, because you don't know if the clerk removed the wooden.
Right, is that wooden stick? Is it in there on the bottom or not? Right.
Oh gosh, nightmares.
Well, I know that our team at home and our distribution center, they're so happy that we're moving as quick as we can to this 25 count box, because we previously had everything else.
Yes.
And we want to do that, and we're exploring ways to package in something else, but we just can't control the cost of the cigar when you move into these smaller count boxes yet. We haven't cracked the code.
You know, it's a psychology of the box sale. But if you look at some of the most legacy brands in our industry, they've all made it on a 25 count box. You know, and I think what it comes down to is, look, as a consumer, look, it's very easy sometimes in a month to say, I'll smoke 20 of these cigars if I like them, right? Because I've seen them. They'll come to my store and they'll buy 5 a week. You know, and if you just buy the box, most retailers will offer you a box discount. So,
Sure.
You know, I think the trend started probably 10, 12 years ago, people making 10 and 15 count boxes for that easier box sale. But what consumers don't realize is all that just ends up costing you is just more per stick.
Right.
It's technically less value to the consumers, but a lesser box buy, if that's what you're looking for.
Well, one of the things that continues to sort of fascinate and confuse me, to be honest, about cigars is how many companies, and each to their own, right? Whatever works for you, but keep adding things. It's like a hat on a hat to their cigar. It's got a ribbon, and then it's got a sticker, and then it's got a this and a that. And every one of those things is just driving up the cost of the cigar to the consumer with really no impact on the flavor of the cigar. Sure. Maybe some impact on people seeing it in a humidor and picking it up the first time. But, I'm surprised how many things in a humidor have all these extra components that are really just driving up the cost of the cigar and doing nothing for the customer experience of smoking that cigar. And I don't know where that came from. I think as humidors have probably gotten busier and more things have come out, people are just desperately looking for something to separate them from somebody else. And so we keep adding things kind of as a way to spotlight our cigar.
That's definitely part of it. I mean, if you look at the reality of just any industry, not just ours, there's something to packaging, right? There's something that people get attracted to in packaging. At the end of the day, that packaging costs real dollars, and you're paying for those dollars. And I think there's a percentage of the consumers in our industry who have gotten past that. And there's still a percentage of them who are enamored by it. And, listen, it's part of the consumer base. I mean, they're going to go which way they're going to go. If you look at a company like Apple, I mean, you look at their phones and whatever, they're pretty basic boxes. I mean, they look nice, they're neat, but it's just a cardboard box with a lot of little cardboard pieces in it. Nothing really snazzy or.
They famously, there's no they're not spending money on an instruction manual or a bunch of material. I mean, though the box itself is really nice, they've trimmed down on any of the extras.
They don't even give you a cube anymore with your phone.
Yeah.
They don't even give you the block to plug it in anymore.
Which was okay for a while until they started switching to the USB-C. Because now it's like, I don't have one of those. Yeah, I had old iPhone ones, but I don't have a block for this.
Yeah.
Listen, it's insane because now if I shout out, hey, I need a charger, my kids, do you need a micro USB? You have a USB to C, a C to C? I'm like, Jesus, it's like so complicated now. But no, I mean, look, packaging is one of those things, but I think ultimately, whether you have a winning packaging or not, if you don't have the product, it's irrelevant.
You don't
packaging, right? Packaging, no matter how elaborate, how awesome, how cool, can only sell a cigar once.
Yep.
And that's what it comes down to. You can have the nicest, snazziest restaurant in there, and if I go in there to have a steak and the steak sucks, I'm not coming back.
Yep.
It's just the reality of it.
Right.
I got to say, it's been really fun watching the socialites as they talk about how they're smoking it and the flavors that they're picking up and whatnot. Because as we were building this cigar over the last 3 years, we almost ran into a roadblock where we had a sour note on the foot when you lit it. And we ended up spending 6 months blending, reblending to get the foot of the cigar to have the proper light. It wasn't bad. It wasn't terrible, but it was one of those things that when you start obsessing about these details and you're working with natural products, you got to get it right. So we've been secretly watching how people respond to the light and what they call the initial flavors, because it was a major, it was a roadblock for a while. And, you'd smoke it and within 30 seconds it was gone, but there was just a little sour note. And so, this business is hard, and our attention to detail and the tobacco work is what we're going to hope pays off in the black.
It's funny you said that. Sorry, it's funny you said that, because one of the things that when we had our connoisseur club, Alex and I kind of experienced was, because these consumers were smoking cigars blind, and we never had any input in what we asked manufacturers to make us. So sometimes we would smoke them just to see what they created. Well, it was like, and I'm telling you, I won't say any names, but there was a couple times where we'd smoke them back there. They're like, oh gosh, this one is not really good, man. We're going to send this out there. Do you taste that? Do you taste that too? And then we would send it out there, and it'd be completely different reaction from like everybody out there. And we're like, holy, because like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna really hate sending this one out because we're gonna get people are gonna.
You feel bad for the company, you're like, I
yes,
don't let them, you know, they're doing.
And then they'd be like, oh, this was on. So like, I gave up on trying to figure out, you know, consumers' reactions and stuff because you know what you get and taste out of a cigar is literally. I mean, I'm going to assume probably similar to wine, but the most subjective thing I've seen. I think cigars even be more subjective than wine.
I completely agree.
I agree because we really taste through our nose and we have terrible language to describe what we're smelling. You know,
True.
There's only 5 flavors on our tongue, plus pain from like a spice. All of these are nuances of the thousands of different molecules we're picking up. But it was about working it and working it and working it until that one little barrier was removed. And we're loving what we're reading. We're just blessed and thankful.
Everything I've seen has been so incredibly positive. Sorry, go ahead, Alex.
No. I was gonna say, so I'm that type of cigar smoker, Dan, that you were talking about. Like if it's wrong to me in the first 30 seconds,
so
I'm not gonna like wait to see if it gets better in the second, third. You know, if it's not there, it's got to get me first.
So let me ask you a question: if you walk into a movie, and like the first 40 minutes it was just putrid, have you ever walked out in the middle of a movie?
Oh, absolutely.
I can't do that.
My time is worth more. There's so many.
I can't do that. It's like
I owe money thing. I'm saying it's a happiness thing.
It's like I owe it to myself to know how bad it really is. Listen to me. Good experiences, bad experiences. If I walk out in the middle of that movie or I give up, it's like I'm shortchanging myself on the bad experience. So it's like my own thing. Like I went to a friend once and we were watching a movie that sucked, and like I'm out of here. I'm like, where are you going? It's like in the middle of the movie. He goes, this sucks. I go, I can't go. He's like, you're kidding me. He's like, I can't. I made him stay. I couldn't leave.
Yeah, but here's the difference, Abe. Let me ask you this. How many times have you started a movie at home and you said, this sucks, I'm changing it?
Can't.
Really? Even at home?
No.
Because for me, that's a cigar. I can just go get another one. I can just, you know, if I'm in the movies, I'm there. I'm stuck. It is what it is. I'm going to, you know.
Now, what's funny about this conversation
you're not like,
is a man who's a movie maker.
You know how many movies I like halfway through, I knew it sucked. And when it finished, God, that was awful. And I'll bash it. Listen, I'm watching Blacklist season 10. It jumped the shark 3 seasons ago, but I'm so vested into it. I'm finishing out this final season. But it's like literally the worst writing, the worst storyline. I mean, it's so sad. They could do a masterclass on how to screw up a good series. But I can't give up on it. I mean, I'm stuck. Now, it may not work the same with food. So food might be the only thing. Like, I'll take a bite. I might try a second one, you know, because then, you know, I'm not putting calories in here that aren't exquisite and enjoy. If I'm going to get overweight on something, I need to enjoy it immensely. So, yeah, food maybe is the only thing like I'll just give up on. But no, I can't stop halfway. It's like stopping halfway into a bad book.
That's what I was going to ask. You finish a book no matter what.
There was one series I didn't finish, and it was just because it was just too frustrating. It'll come to me. It was a series that Apple did the first season. I forgot what it's called. My wife was here; she'll know it. But it's about futuristic empire, and it was one season. It was great. I said, "Oh, I need to start reading these books." The problem is like it transcends thousands of years. So like chapter 1 and 2 is about this whole thing, and then chapter 3 and 4, I didn't know anybody again. It was like it was too crazy, and it didn't follow things in the book. And I think that's the first book I could ever remember. I just stopped halfway into it. I said, I can't do it.
Self-admittal, I am terrible at finishing books. I am terrible. See, my problem is I read 2 books at a time. Yeah. So normally I'll read and I'll have some type of like instructional book or like learning book and like some kind of like history or something more plain mundane when I don't really feel like. So I interchange. I am terrible at I have gone like 3/4 of the way through so many books that I just didn't finish.
Oh, that would drive me nuts. I would go crazy.
And I'll just not be in the mood for it. And then I'll get to this other one. That's why I do too. Cause it, you know, maybe one night I don't feel like being so zoned in and I can read some history shit that it's just whatever I'm just reading. But then I wind up bouncing on to something. I am terrible at finishing books. First 3/4 of the book, I'm great. That last quarter, I usually miss out on.
I don't finish a lot of books. If I'm not enjoying a book, I bail fast. and I will bail out of a movie at home super fast. I've walked out of movies in theater, but it's a much higher bar for how bad it is for me to leave a theater compared to that's interesting.
Why is it when people make movies, they don't get like something that grabs you and takes you to a great place right away? I mean, I think that's the question, Amanda.
Well, you know what's the more fascinating thing is there's a school of thought, and to some degree it works. It's just that I think as people's attention spans are getting shorter, we're going to see it not work. A lot of people really believe as long as you end the movie great, people will forgive everything up until that point. And so for a lot of development, it really is about that last sort of 20 minutes is the end really, carry it home. I think that now people are so not willing to give something a try that we're starting to see people front load movies in a way that they didn't before.
It's funny because I hear that a lot. When like people talk about movie, you'll hear like, well, it starts off slow, but once you get into it, it gets really, really good. I hear that a lot.
I catch myself doing it all the time that, I won't enjoy, I was watching a TV series I will not mention, but that similar to you, Abe, wasn't many seasons, but this season is not as good as the ones before. And I'm like, but I'm invested. So I'm hanging in, but the last episode was good. And I actually left me
made up for it,
right?
Made up for it.
Prior to that, I was like, why am I even watching? So yeah,
it's funny. So yeah, a cigar, it's got to be really, really bad. I will put a cigar down for construction issues before I will flavor, because flavor, I'm just going to flavor. I'm just going to experience it. I want to experience the good, the bad, and whatever. But if I got to work hard to smoke it or whatever, it's done. That I can put down instantly without hesitation.
And Larry, I'll give a cigar 2 chances too, but not back to back. Not back to back. If it's wrong for me now, maybe I'll go back to it another, but I'm not giving it 2 chances back to back.
And I definitely won't give it 2 chances from the same box.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Definitely won't give it to you. If I have something and I want to revisit it, I will revisit it weeks later and make sure it's out of a different box completely.
Multiple chances is important because how my body's working that day can influence the flavor. Sure. And it's a me thing, not the manufacturer thing.
Absolutely. Something I ate earlier in the day could affect what I'm tasting now for sure.
I've had a cigar that I thought I predetermined that I wasn't a fan favorite of, and been put in situations where like either we went somewhere and I was caught without a cigar, or somebody offered me a cigar and I already knew I had it before and I didn't care for it, but I want to be rude and I'll take it and light it up. And I'm like, oh, this is not that bad. So
I remember.
I remember distinctively saying I didn't like this cigar, but I'm actually enjoying it right now. So I've been in that situation. It's happened.
Something that's cool that I realized, and you mentioned it before, Dan, when it comes to like the performance of your cigars and the construction, you guys are right there. There's no issues. They're always the same. You don't have any of those issues. And what's cool about that is, due to the relationship you have and the trust you have in the Gomez Sanchez family, you guys don't actually have to spend a lot of time like down in Nicaragua checking on quality control, because you just have faith in that family that what they're sending up is right, is there.
Well, Alex, it's 2 parts. It's faith in that family, and it's all the manufacturing processes we brought to the factory with us. So there's a lot of process control that we do that produces that result. That family, they are fanatical about what they're doing, which is exactly what you want. But then you wrap it with process, and you can really get, I'll give you a funny example. I had another manufacturer called, and they didn't have spare parts for their cigar draw test machine. And they said, hey, you're Micallef. You guys are pretty serious about this. Do you have spare parts? And we're like, well, of course we freaking have spare parts.
I have to imagine that you guys have spare parts for spare parts, just knowing how you operate.
If you're going to say you're going to test every cigar, you better have good equipment and backup equipment. It's incredibly important to be able to do that.
Sure. And it shows. It shows in the product.
Well, we had another manufacturing friend through our factory the other day, And his feedback was really fair. He's like, I don't think you guys do enough work with other tobaccos. And we shared with him, we had clamped down on it because we were concerned about the regulation. And he said, totally fair. He goes, but your construction, I would like to borrow your guys to come to my factory. And, it's a serious person. But there's something to be said that once you get in the motion of building it, we didn't build the Migdalia Special Edition. We sell a certain amount of those a year. We didn't build 1 year's worth. We built 3 years worth at a time so that the team that's building it can get really on track, build the product, and then we just hold it in the humidor,
Right.
And that way the team has a good chance, because every time you pull them to something different, that's a hard change for them.
Totally. It's funny, the stuff people would never even think about, right? I mean, yeah, because just the changing of the process. I mean, you're right.
It's a
They can
nightmare to
focus on,
change process.
yeah.
We
Everything's
work
got to
across the
stop.
street
They got to
there.
get all the new tobaccos on their table. Everything, yeah. It's a process.
Yeah, especially if you change vitolas.
And it's even, it's a rhythm, right? Because they've gotten the percent. People don't realize there's, they're not weighing how much Ligero they're putting in.
No.
This is all hand felt process they use, and then you get that rhythm going, and they know exactly how much of this leaf and how much of this leaf and whatever. And now you change up the whole process on them. It takes a while to get that cadence and that rhythm for them. So yeah,
we have to destroy a lot of cigars that happen when we first switch blends. I mean, they get destroyed because they don't pass the quality test. The good news is, as the team matures and experience in being with us, they're much better at it. But we hate it. We have to change production schedules, and especially if you change a vitola. Changing vitolas is a nightmare.
Sure.
I could totally see that. Yeah.
It's
but
funny.
That's what makes everything exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So Alex, I was going to comment on one other thing you said about consistency and blend. We have Experienza La Crema cigars that are in your inventory at Smoke Inn, for example. And I went down and got the new ones that came in March. I opened them up and I pulled old ones out and new ones out. And the thing I can say that I'm really proud about our team is that the flavor notes were exactly the same. So something that was 6 years old and something that was 1 year old, the flavor was just right on the mark. And the new ones, because we've invested so much in tobacco and our processing, I think that they may be smoking better than the old ones. So, these are just little leading indicators that we look at to say, are we able to maintain the continuity year over year? And is the investment that we made in tobacco, is it continuing to improve how it does? Right now we've got 15 paloms of tobacco fermenting. And I know that you guys have probably seen some factories. And for our size operation, that's a lot of tobacco to be managing at one time in the pre-industry stage. But it's leading to all of our products. I noticed this in socialites, and they were really fair and honest about it. They're like, hey, I smoked something and it didn't hit my wheelhouse. And maybe I want to create a pack for people who want to try some of our product, because we know and understand the ages of what tobacco was in it. But we're building cigars that have been on the shelf, and it's not just about what's new, it's about what's great right now. I think a lot of people overlook that when they're shopping. They're just like, hey, I want the new thing. But there's also things that people who work in the shops and other people who have access to everything, they don't realize sometimes what's new is great, but what's smoking great is great.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. A lot of people don't realize. Look, to keep consistency over time. The other day we're dealing with plants. You plant a tobacco. There's things you can control, but you can't control how much sunlight, how many sunny days there are going to be in that season, how much rainfall is going to happen, and these little things may change the consistency and the outcome of that wrapper. So,
a perfect example is the Leyenda number 2. So we launched the Leyenda Toros and the Robustos, and they are absolute killers if people haven't tried them. The Leyenda number 2, I don't know why, but the fermentation's requiring about 3 or 4 more months than we build in our project plant. And you just got to wait on it. We don't like being back ordered. That is something we hate as a company, and we don't really have problems with. but sometimes you got to hold the tobacco till it's ready.
Right. It's the nuances.
You guys probably know all this because you lived it so long. But for us, it's just trying to get everything perfect every time you build it requires a lot of oversight. And the team has been doing a great job.
Just in case anybody was wondering, we have Leander number 2 in stock.
Well, now I know where to send everybody. So, but the beauty of what we did with the Leanders, by changing the packaging and taking them out of coffins, we were able to reduce the cost $3.50 to $4 per cigar. And so people can enjoy the flavors that they love. And, that was a move that we made right before the Micallef Black. And we didn't have, people like, oh, it's a blend we know. Well, when you put it in the right formats, it may become a blend that you love.
Sure. Absolutely. Those small changes make a difference.
It's so annoying because I'm on this phone. I haven't been able to read comments the whole broadcast. And so you see me, I don't know if you're seeing my finger. I'm trying to catch up on maybe some of the comments from our listeners and our watchers out there.
Well, I saw Brian Singer saying that he's smoking a Leander Toro right now and loving it. And while you're waiting on your Micallef Blacks to come in, they come in really fast from smoke in. Enjoy what you have.
That's actually for Marshall. That's a good thought. Have you guys seen yourself having any workforce issues down there?
You want to open the whole Pandora's box on operating in a country in Central America? So I can share with you guys a couple things. Almost a year ago, all manufacturers had a workforce problem.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't
across the industry. Some people were really hard hit. Upwards of 10-15% of their workforce disappeared. And it certainly impacted us also. Right now, today, in the United States, we manage regulations. In Nicaragua, you manage regulations also. And so the Nicaraguan government has taken a playbook out of the U.S. and they're having us do a new type of registration on our brands and kind of a new level of scrutiny from their labor and health departments. So it's an evolving thing. And the sad part is all of this costs money. And so anytime regulations grow, as a consumer, you don't realize that impacts the cost of the cigars.
Sure. And a lot of that was immigration, right then?
The initial piece, we believe, was immigration, where people left Nicaragua. And it can create far-reaching scenarios that you would never know. Most factories, including Micallef, we run a bank for our employees where they can borrow money in a safe way instead of having to go to the streets. And we had employees where people borrowed money to leave for whatever country, like the U.S., that they were leaving for, and they left the employee holding the bag and owing debt to external, loan shark guys. And so you're always having to work to protect your employees. Says, hey, we'd much rather work with you directly than you engaging in, loan shark type loans. And it's not true to just us. All manufacturers are impacted by it. But there's a lot of care and love that goes into taking care of your employees.
Jason, this is interesting. Abe, I wonder what you think about this. I am not a believer in this. I'm not a believer in the Boveda pack in the box. Because to be honest with you, from the inside, when I refill, they are bone dry they are hard as a rock by the time I open the box and put it on the shelf.
I mean, look, people, it's funny because we just had a couple of people reach out to us because of Cigar of the Month Club. So we invested in humidibags, which worked great for many, many years. And the reason why we invested in humidibags is because we wanted, in our 5-packs, we throw a little Boveda pack in. And that process for Cigar of the Month is just too time consuming, right? Because we pack thousands at a time. So we invested in humidibags. They worked really, really great. And in the last year or two, I don't know, it was COVID related or what happened. I mean, the quality has just gone to the shitter to the point where we've threw out thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of bags. It would just bust. And we're talking with some new sources and looking at new examples because it really is very helpful in the packing process and in the shipping department. But people are wigging out because now the new bags don't have a humidibag pouch in it or anything, and people forget these things come from Central America in containers. They spend 4 or 5 days at sea. They're not coming in coolers or reefers. They're coming in containers 4 or 5 days at sea in one of the most humid climates there is anyway. They reach the port here. They spend 3 or 4 days in customs, and if somebody's here in Miami, well, then you got another day of transit there. But sometimes you're going to New Hampshire or California, and they're still in transit, and they're not as frail as people think. So I'm with you. I'm not a big, think that does that.
I can clear up on the manufacturer side for us. So you're right. Whole containers go into Florida, and sometimes people co-pack brands together to fill up their containers.
Right.
In our case, we actually air freight to Texas.
There you go.
We bring them because we're not at the size of a full container yet, and it just works out that the economics of bringing it directly to Texas, and they're not as fragile as people think. And the air freight
they're
solves
not
the common problem.
They're not as fragile as people think. It's a nice thing to have if you have it, but not having it is not the end of the world. And Alex is right. Every time we've opened up a box to refill something on the shelf, they're bone hard 90% of the time.
There's that new Leanda that's not in the coffin.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's a great cigar. So Micallef Black at 8, Leanda at 12. Different cigars, different experiences. Hope people love them.
Absolutely.
Give it a shot.
They already
Give
are.
them both a shot.
They already are.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
that does it for me. Anybody else?
you guys have been amazing hosts for us tonight. Thank you so much for letting us join you and do this from the Cigar of the Month Club all the way through today.
Nah, it's always a pleasure. It's always a pleasure, and it's always nice to catch up because we don't get to do it that often anyway. We end up talking about books and movies and whatnot. So it's been fun all the way around, and it was great seeing you guys at the Great Smoke this year. Amanda, loved your time on stage. I probably watched that interview twice, so that was a nice treat for us, and we're looking forward. We're looking forward to next year. Alex, you're on HBT that night, like. Oh yeah, well everything's not worked out, bro. We got a lot of stuff worked out for the Great Smoke.
Yeah, but I can't dish out details and stuff. I mean, we got. So it's early in the game.
Alex is a lot more in the execution process in the Great Smoke than the early on planning.
Come November is when I'm deep in grain. September,
but guys,
October.
Both of you, thank you so much. We appreciate it as always. We look forward to continually working with you and your company. And hopefully many cool projects ahead. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much.
Guys.
I'm just going to throw one thing out there. I'm going to throw this out there for Amanda.
Okay.
The Micallef Black Edition Converse. I'm just saying.
Alex, we got to take care of Moxie. We got to take care of Moxie first.
Yes. But I hear you, and I'm agreeing. I'm working on what that exactly is.
All right, to everyone out there.
Thanks all so much.
Thank you tonight. Guys. Join the Micallef Ambassadors. It's a great group. If you're not part of it and you're watching, follow us at Smoke In. Join our private Facebook group on Smoke In Social. Other than that, we'll see you all soon. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Have a good night, guys.